Hello traders, welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 234. Iliya here. You know what we're going to be doing, having a look at the markets, how they developed this week, what kind of opportunities we had, and most importantly, what we can expect for the upcoming week. Now, here is the monthly candle actually being closed. Welcome to April. Although today is not yet April, next week we are going to be trading into a brand new trading month, which is quite exciting. This is also the beginning of Q2, which is usually characterized by very nice price action, pretty much like the first months. Imagine the first 3 months being like an accumulation. So right now we should start getting some momentum potentially. As the market has been a little bit tricky so far, it's been tricky to navigate. Hopefully we're gonna start getting the markets clear. So without further ado, we're just gonna jump into the charts, analyze every single time frame like we usually do, and get prepared for the upcoming week. Before we get into the technicals, it's first of all important to have a look at the economic calendar to potentially frame our trading week based on news. This has been something really game changing for me as it allows me to kind of pinpoint the best trading days and to potentially know when the market is going to be making a move. Because sometimes you get, for example, price action showing you a very nice signal, but it's Monday without news. And guess what? The market is not going to move. And then, of course, on Tuesday, you get the news, and that is when the move happens. So again, always monitor the news. Now, again, as you can see, on Monday, bank holiday. So first things first, not trading on Monday. There are some USD news, PMI, but again, when we have this bank holiday, US session could move a little bit, but again, is it worth it? Probably not. Then my trading is going to start on Tuesday, although we do not have something major. We just have like a Euro and a USD, a red folder, which is more than enough to be trading Euro USD, for example, right? Or even the USD pairs. Wednesday, Euro news again, and USD. And Mr. Powell speaking. So very big highlight on Wednesday, a little bit late, Mr. Powell speaking. Thursday, CPI for the Swiss franc. I'm not trading Swiss franc much, so I don't care. And a very nice US session with starting with unemployment claims and some FOMC members speaking. And then on Friday, we have NFP. So the first week of every single month on Friday, so the first Friday of every single month, we have the NFP news release, which is pretty much the employment change, except from like farming jobs. And that is very important because it tends to throw a lot of volatility in the market, and that is a very largely expected news event, which could potentially mean that Thursday could consolidate. So for me, again, framing my trading week, the focus will be on Tuesday and on Wednesday to potentially catch a move. Thursday is also all right? But then on Friday, we have to be waiting for NFP and then potentially try to get in after the release. I personally don't like trading Fridays much. So again, my focus will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which are usually the best trading days. So with that being said, let's jump into the technical. All right, starting with a DXY on the monthly time frame. Now, again, a few things that we have to consider. First of all, was that monthly bearish imbalance that we had a look at for quite some time, and it was looking very nice. So we came into rejected in February, and then March should have potentially pushed down and to potentially target this low. But again, I want us to examine the candle, right? Because every single candle, right, especially on the higher time frames, contains information. Now, if we zoom in to kind of observe this candle, it has a very massive wick down, and then it closed with a bullish body. So at a time, this candle opened and it very massively pushed down, but some sort of a rejection came from the bottom that it all the way pushed up to actually go above the opening price. So this to me is a reversal pattern. This to me is a bullish signal, right? So again, if this monthly imbalance is not going to hold, that means first target becomes that monthly high here. And then the second target becomes all the way this swing high. So am I calling a bullish dollar? A little bit, yes. A little bit, yes. So let's have a look on the weekly time frame. Here's that bearish move that I described to you. The market just stopped right there and it started moving higher. Now, I am not in the business of trying to find out why did the market stop right here, because you can always find it. I can just say, all right, there's that candle. That is what stopped price, right? But is it really worth it? Not really. But we had a very nice push lower right here, also creating that weekly bearish imbalance. So that here was the absolute key to see holding if the market was going to go bearish, because we are reacting here from a monthly imbalance, creating weekly imbalance, which is very, very, very good. We also have some daily imbalances here. But then as soon as this one started failing, well, that is a reversal pattern, because right now there is nothing to stop price from actually going higher. We actually have right now a brand new weekly bullish imbalance, which is the pretty much the very nice reversal sign you can see, this sort of V shape right there. Bearish imbalance lower, bullish imbalance higher, V shape, we could potentially start targeting higher, which further supports that bullish overall narrative that I have. Now, are we going to pull back to that weekly imbalance? That is the very big question for next week, by the way, because we really don't know. The market could potentially just open and start impulsing towards the high. It could first of all take out the weekly high and then pull back, right? Because again, in order for the market to move somewhere, it needs liquidity. The closest liquidity area is the previous weekly high in this case. But again, if we do take out the previous weekly high, we're getting very close to that monthly high as well. So we might just go out and take it and then potentially initiate a pullback. So there are potentially a lot of scenarios, right? But if we just want two of them, first will be for us to pull back into that weekly imbalance and then potentially target the weekly high, or for us to open, maybe just a brief pullback, and for us to just tackle all the highs right here and continue going higher, right? So those are my two outcomes. And of course, the lower time frames could potentially show us what the market wants to do. Again, you can see we also shifted the daily order flow to bullish here. We have this very latest, daily imbalance that the market responded from. It went on and it took out the daily high. However, then you can see we had 3 slow days. It did take out the target, but it was very slow, very choppy, which is another sign that the market could be needing liquidity, right? In sort of this weekly imbalance here to potentially continue pushing higher. But again, as I keep saying, it could just open and start popping higher. What I don't like is that I cannot find anything on the daily, so that forces me to drop to the 40 time frame, and the 40 time frame is also very choppy. It closed in a very choppy manner right here, no imbalances, no clear structure. It's not very nice. So again, currently it's very, well, the market is always 50-50. It's all about probabilities. You never know what is going to happen, but it's all about the flow right now, because I don't see any daily and 4-hourly zones to work with. So we either have to be waiting for new to be created in order to like a new structure break with an imbalance to then potentially continue higher towards that monthly high, which is going to be my drawn liquidity in the upcoming weeks. Or we of course have to be looking for the pullback into that weekly imbalance, and then from there look for the structure shifts and then start going higher. So that is my DXY outlook. Again, we really do have to wait for more price action to show us where he wants to go. I am overall bullish. Keep in mind we have NFP this Friday that could be potentially the determinants whether the market is going to go bullish or bearish. So of course, let's be patient, wait for proper zones to enter your trades, and if you're unsure about what is happening, which I am currently, we just wait. All right, next comes EURUSD, which was very kind enough to give me a win this week, which I'm going to show you right now. Now, again, similar story to the DXY. We had a very nice bullish imbalance. The market tapped it on February and it nicely rejected. So we expect this month to potentially start rocking higher. But again, it tried to rock higher. It took out the previous monthly high here. That's marked as liquidity taken. And right now it's very nice starting to reject, right? So this is how March is closing. That to me is a bearish sign. So again, immediately first target becomes the previous monthly low. Second target becomes this, and then third target all the way becomes this low. But again, this is very far, so let's focus on the price action that is just in front of us. Now, this here, the failed monthly imbalance could definitely potentially become liquidity. Now here we also had that weekly bullish imbalance that just very clearly failed right here. So when that fails, then of course this whole leg here, this whole range, then it becomes weak. Because if this push and the pullback failed to make a new push, then usually the low of that range is weak, which is why I do right now tend to forecast the DXY going higher and EU potentially continuing lower. Now here we have a very nice weekly imbalance that again, I am not sure if the market is going to come back to tap it, because already if we explore that candle here, the third candle that actually creates the imbalance, it already threw a very massive wick into the highs, rejected, and closed bearish. So probably there is already something being filled right here. So I do believe we could just continue going lower towards that liquidity target down there. So I am not going to necessarily be looking for a weekly pullback because I do believe it could go without that. Now dropping onto the daily here, which is something extremely nice, that is different than the DXY, we are actually having daily imbalance to work with. And that is very, very, very nice. Now again here, I'm just going to keep this weekly, but in order to build a little bit more context, we have this daily imbalance going bearish here. The market tapped it, so it was created. You can see, guys, how patience is important. Monday opened, it created the imbalance. Tuesday came in, rejected the imbalance. Wednesday is where I took my trade, expecting the continuation, and then Thursday hit my TP, right? So again, you can see it was just one trade this week, but if you wait for it, you're going to do good. Now, again, right now, this is also perfectly aligning with this overall sell to buy area. And if you just want to take it with a line like this, it looks pretty good. Let's just mark it with a POI like that. So ideally, my absolute textbook setup right now for EU will be top of this daily imbalance and short it immediately. Now, if this happens on Monday, I will be very, very skeptical. Probably I'm not going to take it, but I might even take it with low risk because this is not a setup to be missed. Now, if you drop to the hourly time frame, we are having a hourly bullish imbalance. That could be something that the market could use in order to drive into that daily. But then, of course, your hourly becomes weak. Why? Well, because the daily is simply a hard time frame. All right. So this is my EU overview. It actually looks pretty good. It looks pretty simple. This is how I look at it. Bearish on the euro. Potentially, I want to short it from that daily imbalance. How do we get there? We already have hourly bullish imbalance going higher. That could be the cause for the market to get in right here. And then from there, we drop to hourly to 50 minutes to be looking for confirmation shorts. That is my EU outlook. Now, the trade that I took was exactly this one here. I reacting from the daily, creating a new 40 time frame. Wednesday, I just got home very late on Wednesday, so I woke up quite late. But I just jumped on the charts to scan them very quickly. And this one looked very good. So I didn't even bother to be looking at lower time frames. I just took that trade and I took a 2R, but my stop loss was 20 pips like this, 20 pips, and I just targeted 40 pips, which was kind of requiring for the market to push down a little bit more, but I was pretty much targeting these swing lows right here that got perfectly taken. So yeah, that is my trade for this week. Full risk, very happy with it because it puts me on March a little bit ahead. So yeah, that is your USD, bearish bias, really looking forward for that to continue going lower. And of course, always be open-minded because it might decide to go higher. Who knows? Now, GU is a very choppy story. Very choppy story. Now, if you remember, this is the only pair that didn't actually pull back to fill in that monthly imbalance. And I do believe right now we could be getting there. Because what we're doing right now is we're taking out this monthly high. And by the looks of it, we're just liquidity grabbing it. We're sweeping it. Look at the wick. Look at the indecision. The market opened, pushed massively up, pushed massively down, closed exactly where we opened. This is what we call pretty much a consolidation. Now, again, on the weekly time frame, what we're already having is a very nice, again, that V shape that I described on the DXY as well. Very nice pop higher. You think that it's going bullish. And of course, we thought it's going to go bullish. At the time, like even the DXY sentiment looked like this. But again, then we have a massive bearish candle printing. And then the next week, like even your earliest signs, right, happen right here when the market actually fails to immediately hold. Then we have this pop higher. That was also pure manipulation. That week was rather tricky with the FOMC. And then we just massively dropped. So again, it doesn't really matter. You could be wrong once. Again, you just go with it. You flow with the market. Right now we have this bearish weekly imbalance that I do believe it could actually tap because price is very close. That third candle is very nice consolidation this week. So we could just very easily tap inside this one and continue towards that monthly imbalance. So this further supports that idea of bearish Euro USD, of bullish DXY, and also bearish GU. Looks actually very good. So let's see how it plays out. Now, dropping onto the daily time frame, we do not have anything on the daily time frame to work with. In fact, the very last daily imbalance we have is right there, which is perfectly kind of nested inside that weekly imbalance. So I'm not even going to drop to the hourly because the hourly, look what we have. It's very nice, clean, crisp consolidation that if you tried to trade GU this week from Monday all the way to Friday, you probably took quite a couple of losses, right? Which is why, once again, guys, hard time frames are super important, right? We didn't have anything on the daily to tap. Even on the hourly, we didn't have anything. The weekly time frame is pushing lower in that third candle of potentially creating a weekly imbalance. So this is the focus for this week. Again, on this one, I would definitely love to have a tap inside this area. And then, of course, first target becomes the very recent low, which is that daily low. And then, of course, second target becomes all the way these lows, right? These lows here, and all the way towards that monthly imbalance. So it looks super good. Short bias, of course, always keep an open mind. The market could open, could massively impulse higher, and then we could go higher. Again, I don't care. I'm not in the game to forecast. I'm in the game to flow with the markets and, of course, listen to what it tells me on a daily basis. Let's have a look at AU. Does look a little bit tricky. Now here again, we have that same bullish monthly imbalance. The market tapped it in February. It kind of looked like it wanted to reject. And then of course, March, it does look like it wants to pop higher, but it does not. It rejects very massively. So that to me is a bearish sign. We could be potentially going like the very, very easy target. It will be, of course, that March low that the market could take immediately. But then I would say a very obvious target will be that low right here, because that is the low that actually failed to cause the market to push higher from that monthly imbalance. That is also going to be a weekly low, potentially. Now, on the weekly time frame, this one is not very clear. You can see like on EU, on GU, on the DXY, we do have weekly imbalances. Here we do not. This week was absolute chop once again, so we don't have anything to work with on the weekly. And then we go to the daily time frame. So again, we have this massive pop higher, massive pop higher. If the market is going to go higher, it should go from here, right? It should go from here. And a very big mistake that I used to do in the past is I would, of course, take this, right there, draw my range like that, and then say, all right, I'm going to be looking for that 50% pullback all the way to the extreme of this zone right here. Meanwhile, the market is already shifting the order flow, going bearish, and of course, at the end, it goes bearish. This is, and I actually heard this the first time I kind of made me think about it, is that there was somebody teaching FIPS, and he said, you should not wait for the market to tap your 786. So if you have a push, if the market is going to go higher, maximum 50%. Usually the strongest pairs, if the market is going to go higher, it usually reacts from like the 20 or the 30%, and then it continues to go higher. If you have a pullback like this, go guess if you actually have a look at this overall range here. Well, that's a reversal. That's like a V shape. It's going to be very, very, very hard per price to actually have such a massive pullback with a lot of bearishness coming in, and then to potentially battle with all those levels that are to the left. This is why if you see like a massive pullback into your zone, it creates a lot of resistance to the left, and it's actually a little bit harder for the market to push up. And usually if you actually backtest it, a lot of the times it results in just a shift of structure and a trend change. So again, you can see here, if the market is going to continue higher, it should have done it from here. Then we started flipping lower, creating like these daily bearish imbalances. Of course, here the market had a very massive, those are the 2 days with the news. Looked like it wants to go higher. Then this day actually comes in and respects the imbalance. It respects this overall zone right here, flips lower again. And if you actually look at structure, this is again, I get asked a lot, why did you flip to imbalances? Well, because they actually do tell you the momentum. They do tell you the order flow. Because if you are stuck with structure here, right, looking from this low to this high, well, you're missing out the reversal. And then eventually your structure becomes the target, because you are just focusing on the structure, trying to take longs from here, longs from here, longs from here, while the market is actually going short. Now, again, the very recent, to finish my rant, the very recent imbalance was here on the daily, tapped in, similar trade on the EU that I took, very nicely followed through, taking out that daily target right here. And now we are getting in a little bit of a chop. So I immediately do not like AU. Yeah, I absolutely don't like it. We have a hourly bearish, then turns into hourly bullish, then turns into another hourly bullish here. There is some sort of a recent hourly shift bullish. I would personally wait for more price action, because I'm very bearish on the daily, I'm bearish on the weekly, so I don't want to go long. So eventually I would like to see this imbalance fail to create a new bearish one that could potentially drive me lower. So if you ask about AU, I would much better trade GU and EU. This one is getting a little bit choppier this week, so I'm going to be waiting for more price action in order to trade it, but still I will remain short bias on this one as well. Looking at NZUSD, it looks so much weaker than AU. Now, this is why I don't like these NZD and Aussie, is because if you want to trade those instruments, you have to trade them both, and you have to be really careful which one to pick. Because, for example, right now, Aussie dollar looks a little bit stronger, so it doesn't move down as much, but NZUSD, look at that. It's already pushing lower, and this one gave us the earliest signs that it doesn't want to go higher. Why? Well, because we already in January, it was the first pair to tap the monthly imbalance. Then in February, it didn't really manage to push higher. So again, March, potentially pushing lower. Right now, again, if you want the longest term target, it's going to be all the way towards that low. Now, of course, we have to start making our way lower. And unlike AU, this one has a beautiful weekly imbalance right here. Beautiful. Now, again, is it going to get tapped? We don't know. It could continue without it if there is something on the lower time frame to potentially push price lower. So let's have a look at that. On the daily time frame, well, we do have a little structure on the daily. Now here, look at that. Again, bearish daily here, taps in on Tuesday, rejects on Wednesday, and then Thursday hit TP because we had some news. No daily bearish imbalance, which is another sign that we could potentially pull back to the weekly. And of course, if the 4-hourly time frame starts shifting bullish, that could be a sign that we might be traveling to the weekly. Now, this one is not great. Right now, it's still kind of a little bit bearish. We have this bearish that is failing. We have this bullish that we have to see what it wants to do. So again, it's very early to say what is going to happen on the NZD and on the Aussie. Now, if I am just working with the higher time frames, I would say like I'm not going to trade this pair if it doesn't pull back to the weekly imbalance to potentially fuel a move lower. That could just be very easy. Stop on the weekly, don't do anything else. But now if you want to drop to the 4-hourly time frame, then it gets a little bit trickier because you really have to read structure and you have to read the imbalances right here. So if this market wants to go to the weekly imbalance, the 4-hourly time frame is going to show you that in the form of starting to build bullish structure. And then if you want to intraday trade this pair, you have a very clear target in the form of that weekly imbalance. So then if bullish structure starts to form, you take longs because you know where the market is going potentially. So again, if you want to take longs on this one, I would personally wait for a structure break, even another structure break to pretty much confirm that bullish trend, targeting that weekly imbalance. And then from there, we turn into shorts. Now, again, keep in mind, if the sentiment like shifts or if something happens with the sentiment, we can just continue going lower. So of course, if we start having these 4-hourly bearish imbalances in structure, well, guess what? I'm going to go short because the overall bias is shorts. So again, Aussie and NZD do need a little bit more time, but if I'm to pick one, I'm gonna choose NZUSD because it's a lot more bearish than AU. All right, gold is just breaking through the all-time highs. This month, we're having a very massive, just impressive monthly candle, to be honest. Super massive bullish candle. Now, this is gonna make it a little bit tricky because when you are at all-time highs, you don't have anything to target to the left, so usually a pullback will be imminent. Here we have like this overall sell to buy. That could be a break and retest reaction. Now, dropping onto the weekly time frame, we have this weekly imbalance that the market actually tapped in, rejected on this week, right? And kind of rejected, didn't look very nice. But then again, the next week opened and it just continued to pop higher. So essentially right now, the daily and the 4-hourly time frame are going to be key to see if it wants to continue going higher because the weekly time frame is already taken and pushing higher. Now here again, you can see we had that daily imbalance. I'm not sure what I mentioned in my last outlook. I actually missed one because I was traveling. But right now we do have another structure break here. And we are... So Friday didn't actually print. That is strange. So I would wait for Monday to close on this one to form a daily imbalance. Then I would like to trade this daily imbalance in the upcoming days. So on gold, what can I say? I'm just long biased. It just looks absolutely ridiculously going higher. And this move higher happened again on Thursday because we had some sort of news on Thursday. It was very choppy in the first 3 days, and then just Thursday, whoop, started rocking higher. So yeah, right now it's too high. I would look for a retest of this level. I would look for ideally for a daily bullish imbalance to form, which is going to be, again, we have to wait for one more candle. Now again, this Friday candle, I'm not sure if it's actually active And if we can actually take it like this as an imbalance, it just doesn't look good. So I will wait for Monday to pass to form that daily imbalance. And then, of course, on Tuesday, when the news start rolling, that is when I could potentially start looking for continuous longs. Now, again, keep in mind, it's all-time highs. We can start like pulling back. But again, as long as order flow keeps making new bullish imbalances, keeps breaking structure, then we keep going long. So let me know, guys, if you actually managed to participate in this long. Would like to hear that. Let's have a look at the only JPY pair that I'm currently monitoring, because I decided to cut on my list a little bit, get more focus. Now, USD JPY has taken what seems to be like an all-time high. It's not an all-time high, but it's like a very, very major high from 2022. We took it out, and right now we are starting to just chop around very nicely. However, once again, similar to the DXY, we have this weekly bullish imbalance. Now, again, that is going to determine what happens with USD JPY. It's actually a very nice area, if you ask me, to continue higher from, like a pullback and then a potential continuation. So if I'm just looking at this market, I would just stop here. Set alert on that imbalance, wait for the market to tap, and then drop to like 4-hourly, 1-hourly, 50-minute to be looking for those shifts. Because if I drop to the daily time frame, well, we just have a chop right here. So it's been quite some time that we had a chop. Like the last trade we had driving into all-time high was that massive daily bullish imbalance. The market tapped it on this Thursday, 21st of March, and continued going higher with a target, this one. And then, of course, this week we just chopped all the way into Wednesday when we actually took out that high, and then we continued to chop, right? So pretty much right now, the overall outlook stays the same. Weekly time frame, waiting for that weekly imbalance to tap, and then starting to observe 4-hourly, 1-hourly, 50-minute for bullish shifts, targeting that high right here. So very simple analysis. It just needs some time. Just setting an alert right here, waiting for that to ping, and only then getting into the charts and starting to observe. Now, again, keep in mind, it's probably going to take some time. It's a USD pair. They start moving on potentially on Tuesday. Monday could potentially set up. So again, patience, but overall, very nice long bias that resonates very nicely with the DXY as well. Indices are rocking higher like crazy, and this makes them a little bit tricky to trade. Honestly, I haven't taken a trade on SPX or NAS for a very, very, very long time. I do tend to monitor them. What I spot is that I'm already a little bit tired when it comes to US session, because that for me is like already 3:30, 4:30 p.m., which is usually after London, and I'm a little bit tired, so I don't manage to focus very well. But I haven't even seen a clear setup. Now, we're having a very massive monthly candle of March that is creating a brand new monthly imbalance, which is very, very key, because what that shows is that we still have bullish momentum and we keep driving higher. Now, and again, in terms of stocks, my stocks are just going crazy, and I'm probably going to be looking to buy some crypto right now because there is nothing to buy in terms of stocks. This week created a weekly imbalance. Now, again, you can see all of those imbalances, monthly, weekly, daily. When you have this, usually when the lowest one fails, it's like a, how do I illustrate this? It's like a little bit of a game, right? So you're having that monthly imbalance, then you're having that weekly imbalance, then you're having that daily imbalance, then you're having that 4-hourly one, right? So usually if the 4-hourly fails, it's going to go to the daily. And then if the daily doesn't push, it's going to go to the weekly. And then if the weekly doesn't push, it's going to go to the monthly, right? And then pretty much you get this buy, then you get a downtrend, and then you start getting an uptrend once again. So it's very important to be monitoring every single one, but of course, observe the reaction from every single one as well. Now here, what we can see is that the market also exactly the same thing that I showed you. Like, this is very, very, very tiny, but just again, for illustration purposes, we're having a monthly, we're having a weekly, and we're having a very tiny little bit of a daily that is coming from a little bit of a sweep here of all-time highs once again. So I'm not sure how strong that will be. So again, if this one actually fails and fails to continue higher from here, I would say it's going to go to the weekly. And then from the weekly, I will potentially be looking for longs, right? But then if the weekly fails and start making bearish structure, then guess what? We have so much space to be trading into the monthly. So again, right now, it's going to be very key. Usually all-time highs are always tricky. Am I going to drop to the 4-hourly time frame? Not really. 4-hourly time frame is choppy, having a very nice rejection from that one. So let's see. The only area right now to work with is that daily zone. And if you actually break this daily zone, potentially with a very nice 4-hourly imbalance going lower, then we can immediately target the weekly. And then, of course, from the weekly, we just have to step back and observe what is going to happen. So I don't want to be calling shorts. I do personally think we could pull back to the weekly because the market is going to need some sort of liquidity to go higher. And again, you can see that's a weekly imbalance, but it's also a daily swing low that is resting right here as liquidity. So my ideal outcome, something that I would actually be willing to trade, is going to be this one. So I'm gonna let this one stay right here. And of course, let's see how it develops. You can of course trade it on the way down if you know what you're doing, but you can just say, all right, I'm gonna wait for that weekly zone to tap, and then I'm gonna jump to trade. So that is SPX. Let's have a look at the others. All right, NAS is a little bit weaker than SPX, but it has also gone very nicely higher. Again, if we just take out that line from the all-time highs, you can see how far we're going above that. So again, there is going to be a time in which this market has to pull back, and it has a lot of pullback areas. Similar to the SPX, we're having a brand new monthly imbalance. Not to say that we have one just below, not to say that we have one all the way down here. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to come all the way down there. It's going to be a massive downtrend. So keeping that monthly imbalance in check. Weekly time frame, no imbalance. Sketchy. We're having this liquidity taken that is all-time high. That is also like the weekly and the monthly high taken. Failing to continue higher. Printing an indecision candle. Not making a weekly imbalance bullish. Dropping onto the daily time frame. The very last thing that we had is that bullish imbalance. The market tapped it once, 2, 3, pretty much that's taken. It is not pushing higher from here. So Nasdaq gives me a lot of bearish vibes right now. The only thing that could happen is we can actually sweep some sort of low here and then go higher from there. So this is what I see. But what I see right now is potentially what I want to see is a very nice 4-hourly push lower to drive us into that monthly imbalance. Because I don't see where the market could go higher from. We're already taking the sell to buy. The market tap, it doesn't want to go higher. But of course, it could just mean it's waiting for something. On the 4-hourly time frame, it's been very, very choppy. Very choppy this week overall. And I would say it's overall been choppy, like especially in NASDAQ, it's just chopping around. It's very, very, very hard to trade. Nothing is respected. So again, this is pretty much like choppy trading conditions. So we have to wait for them to get better. And again, personally, I'm just not wasting any time during US session to be actually looking at this because I see that it's not looking very good. So again, what I'm currently looking for is either for the 4-hourly time frame to start showing me signs of bearishness to drive me into that monthly imbalance. The daily could also make a very nice daily imbalance going lower to drive me into that monthly imbalance. But of course, the 4-hourly time frame is first going to show that. Now, of course, if it starts making bullish legs going higher, I'm also going to go bullish, okay? But overall, NASDAQ gives me bearish vibes, and similar to SPX, that could potentially start going lower towards like that weekly imbalance. I do believe we can have a short-term bearishness on NAS, but again, who am I to know? I'm just going to react. Let's see. I don't know what's happening with DAX, but it's just rampaging also like crazy. February was massive, and March is even more massive. So what is happening? We're having a very nice monthly imbalance that again looks very far. So we probably have something on the lower time frame to work with. Yes, we do. We probably have again that whole thing that I explained to you on the SPX, right? It just keeps going higher. There hasn't been a single bearish candle since January right here. Since the 22nd of January, we just go higher. And you can see on the weekly, we're not even retesting weekly imbalances. Now on the daily time frame, it's also been a little bit tricky. I do see like DAX is a little bit of a, I think to drop the instrument because it kind of causes me a little bit, it makes me a little bit unfocused because I usually focus on EU and GU, mainly EU right now because GU is crap. But looking at this one, like on the daily time frame, it takes a lot of, it's moving massively, but it just moves one day. So again, you can see here that daily imbalance, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, it moved on the 4th day. Then again, pull back, one move. And then again, we formed this imbalance, which is very good. 1, 2, 3, 4, moved on the 5th day, right? And then since then, it's just massively pushing without a pullback. So I haven't managed to spot any sort of setups on this one, but of course, we're going to be waiting for it. Again, a very recent one on the daily right here. and then dropping all the way to the 40 time frame is where we ended up. So if this market is going to go higher, I'm simply going to be looking for that daily imbalance to get tapped, which is also the last fall imbalance, resting very nicely right here. And then, of course, dropping to 1 hourly to 50 minutes to be looking for shifts, targeting the all-time highs once again. Now, if this daily imbalance fails, then, of course, we have some below. But again, if you try to trade from every single one, you could potentially lose the point, because if this one fails, then it might actually start forming bearishness to pull us back into the weekly. So again, keep that in mind. If this first one fails, I'm going to be very skeptical to be trading from the second one, because very likely that is just going to become a reaction point and then to drive us into the weekly. So again, very key, let's wait, looking for that daily imbalance to potentially continue higher. But if the overall indices, as I told you on SPX and NAS, if they start pulling back lower, then also DAX could follow, although that is the most bullish index of them all. So very interesting, haven't taken any trades on that. Looking forward for it to maybe get a little bit more balanced and then to potentially trade it. Right now, I'm not super interested in it. And last we have US30. Now this one is having a very nice monthly bullish candle. However, it does not have a brand new monthly bullish imbalance. Like the very last one is resting right here. And of course we have one below and one even lower. So we probably have something on the weekly though. So dropping onto the weekly, US30 has also been one of those choppy indices. I haven't touched it. I'm actually not trading it. I've decided to not trade it. But here we have a new weekly imbalance. That could be something the market could tap to potentially react from next week. And yeah, on the daily time frame, we have again that situation of, is it going to be the daily or is it going to be the weekly? How do you know? Well, again, do you observe what is happening here? If you don't see any confirmation, if you don't see any shift of order flow on the lower time frames, then that could mean it might want to go lower. So again, two scenarios here. Tap right there, continuation higher, or of course, if this one fails, there is going to be lower time frame structure to drive you into the weekly. And that is where I'm pretty much going to end it, because on the 40 time frame, we don't have much. So again, you're going to know if the 40 time frame just massively rose lower, creates a bearish imbalance, that immediately shows that it actually might want to pull back lower. And with the overall sentiment of the indices that I'm seeing, I see it very possible for us to pull back into that weekly zone, right? It's aligning very nicely overall with this kind of range, this range initiation, but it already pulled back into it here. If you actually look at it, it already tapped it and it's reacting. So it's very 50-50. It could absolutely continue from here, but it might want that liquidity gap to tap into the weekly. So again, guys, probabilities 50-50. You have to react. Let's see how it reacts from that daily and what it wants to do. I'm going to update you on Wednesday. All right, full circle back. Let's try to recap a little bit. Now, the DXY is looking very bullish. The only question is it going to go higher from current price, or is it going to be pulling back into the weekly imbalance? Personally, I don't think it's going to be pulling back, because it's coming in very, very, very close to that weekly target right there. So I do believe we can just pop higher. And of course, you're going to see that within the other pairs. Now, EU also has that weekly imbalance, but I don't think it's going to come all the way up, because it has the daily imbalance to stop it. So pretty much EURUSD is my favorite setup going into next week. Daily imbalance, daily OB to the left, tap and go. GU also looks very, very, very good, because it has a weekly imbalance formed. That looks pretty good. It has a daily imbalance here that hasn't been tested. So if you actually tap in right there, that could actually be for the swing traders a lovely little swing trade right there to just take stop loss above and then target the monthly imbalance, right? Looks very good. We just gotta wait for confirmation. So those two are my favorite. Now, AU and NU, they are also bearish, but they are a little bit slower. So if I'm gonna be trading a USD pair, it's gonna be EU or GU, right? Keep that in mind. Gold, massively going bullish, waiting for a daily imbalance to form in order to drive me higher. USD JPY, looking for that weekly imbalance to tap in order to go higher. Now the JPYs I'm not covering right now, and also the indices, they could have like a little bit of a fall effect, like daily failing, weekly failing, and monthly failing, but I do believe they are still quite strong in order to cause a massive reversal. So I'm just being extremely cautious right now with all the imbalances and with all the levels that we have on all of those indices and how they're going to hold. The weakest is NASDAQ. So if I'm to choose an index, it's not going to be NASDAQ. It's going to be SPX, or even DAX, which is very bullish, or even US30, that looks quite better, and that could potentially continue from this daily imbalance going towards all-time highs. So pretty much looks pretty good, with the overall narrative being bullish dollar and of course bearish major pairs. Let's see how it goes. Always make sure to flow with the market and not really try to predict too much. Just react to what the market tells you, because it's always going to tell you what is happening, right? Whatever the big boys are doing, they are always leaving signs in price action. So again, don't be way too mechanical. Just listen to the market, and also applying imbalances has helped me do that a lot. So that's for me, guys. Talk to you on Wednesday. Let me know how you performed this week. Let me know what you did, and bye for now.